7:35 on WNTK and WUVR's Live and Local in the Morning. All right, so for those of you that are on social media, the real showdown of the 2016 presidential election really has been happening online. And in really the months leading up to today, the big day at the polls, political arguments, those have been raging on Facebook. And so they, these arguments, they tend to result in, the most unkind type of cut, and that is being unfriended. According to Facebook, the biggest social network on the planet, the 2016 presidential election alone has generated over 5.3 billion, that's with a B, posts, likes, comments, and shares, with nearly 110 million Americans participating in the online debate between January and October of this year. And the most widely talked about topic worldwide on Facebook in 2016 in terms of words and hashtags has been, of course, the U.S. presidential election. But it left out one key metric. Facebook didn't say how many people had been unfriended. And that's probably a metric that's impossible to quantify. We're going to bring on Veronica Sites. Veronica is a counselor. You can visit her on her website, www.conflictresolutionspeaker.com. First off, Veronica, I want to welcome you to WNTK and WUVR's election wrap-up coverage. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I've actually, and I spoke to you last week, and I've been looking forward to bringing you on, because one of the things that we've been talking about a lot recently is, of course, the social media impact and what happens when people disagree on Facebook. Now, this is definitely, without a doubt, I think the most polarizing of political events here. People are being unfriended left and right. To be honest with you, for me, I don't care. If somebody unfriends me because of my political views, I look at it this way. I love it when the garbage walks itself out to the curb, because it saves me the trouble of having to take it out.
That's a good way to look at it.
Now, but once the election is done, and we kind of have like that, that buyer's remorse, like, oh, well, geez, maybe I was mean to that person, and so, that's when, for me at least, that's when sensitive Keith comes out. So the question really is, when you unfriend somebody and just, you're at a feverish pitch and you're trying to assert how right you are and how wrong the other person is, how do you repair those relationships?
One of the most key elements of it is, when did it happen? And also, because once the election is done, it's already decided. Evaluating and assessing what action can I personally take to reach out and offer the olive branch, because some of these relationships have been severed in the heated discussion exchange on the profiles, and immediately there was the unfriending. Well, that sends a very, very strong message as to, I'm done with you. But after the fact, we have an opportunity to go, I needed to do that. I hope it didn't cause too much of a personal sever, but there was a need to put some space there. Because if the friendship is worth reaching out to, it's going to be the individual. For example, it would be my responsibility and decision to reach out to somebody that I have blocked or unfriended on Facebook and just say, listen, I decided that this was something necessary for our relationships because I care about our relationships. It's okay if we don't see eye to eye on everything. That's what is a reason that we are friends. But to preserve the relationship, I'm reaching out now so that we can start over, knowing that we have to agree to disagree, but I care about you as a friend.
What I'm curious... Media, okay. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, on social media, the biggest factor that plays into that is we have allowed a lot of friendships, or we have all these likes and friends racking up that really don't have the emotional real estate within us that would reason to allow somebody to fuel us up.
So I got a couple of questions. Yeah, I'm going in a couple of different directions here. I'm in the dating world. Okay, so it's always interesting for me. One of the first, and it's like a qualifying question. It's like, what's your political affiliation? And it's like you cringe when you get to ask that question. But I mean, really, I think when you look at the differences between Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, I think it really it embodies so many different morals and values and ethics that one simple question, I think, can tell you a lot about your compatibility with a person, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friend. And I always find it interesting when you find married couples and it's like, oh, she's a liberal and I'm a conservative. It's like, well, how do you not kill each other?
Exactly. And those are, sometimes that conversation is not a primary question that comes up in the dating relationship or even qualifying scenario, when it's going to come up at some point, and better that it come up in advance before you invest a lot of time and energy in a relationship where suddenly a house is divided, if you will, and you're the one that have chosen each other, because now there's a contention that must be worked through in light of a commitment that's made. And that's really what is the litmus test on all of these. What is the commitment to the relationship? Because it is reconcilable.
And I think, especially for me, I guess it's a really important question, because inevitably, the topic of politics is going to come up when I'm talking with somebody. Oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm a conservative talk show host. So it's like, yeah, okay. So, it's like, who are you voting for? Well, naturally naturally going to come up. And I guess I'm curious, for people who aren't necessarily really entrenched in it, where does that question come up? In terms of, this is a first conversation, a second conversation, so on and so forth. But, obviously that's in the formative stages of a new relationship. But getting back to the friendship aspect, even family members are writing each other off now over this election. Oh my God, you're supporting Trump. I can't talk to you. You're going to have to sit at the kids' table at Thanksgiving. It's fascinating just to see, how emotionally invested people are in this election cycle.
Well, it's an emotional investment, but also how emotionally neglectful they have allowed themselves to become, because behavior is largely a byproduct of the immediate environment. And that being said, it's, I've had family members calling me and telling me, I'm going to have to unfriend this one and that one, and I'm just like, okay, that's your decision. Go ahead and do that. I'll be here to listen, but I love you both, and I choose to agree to disagree with throwing a relationship away, when love is about a commitment, and we don't pick our relatives unless you marrying into the family. With that said, the value of a relationship ought to have more weight in recognizing there's not ever going to be 100% agreement on all issues between individuals. But that's why we pick each other. We pick each other because we complement one another, and we can agree that there are opinions, there's facts, and then the truth is different than fact, being the truth is I get to choose, but if I want peace in relationships, I first must have peace within myself, and consider the fact that people cannot consistently act in a manner inconsistent with who they are in character, morals, and values within themselves. They wreak havoc.
No, that's a great point. It's 7:43 currently on WNTK and WUVR. My guest is Veronica Sites. She's the author of Conflict Resolution Solutions, Tips to Preventing and Resolving Conflict Before It Starts. You can visit her website at www.conflictresolutionspeaker.com. Victoria, we got about 45 seconds left here. So before I let you go, I want to see if you could leave our listeners with maybe one helpful tip that they can implement right now, today, to help to repair those relationships that may have been broken because of political vitriol.
Consider the fact that you are ridiculously in charge of the choices you make, and the people in your life can have a greater value than the choice to have defriended them. Perhaps boundaries were necessary. It's time to offer the olive branch, and let's be the strong country that we are, one citizen at a time.
I think that's a great start. Victoria Sites, again, author of Conflict Resolution Solutions, Tips to Preventing and Resolving Conflict Before It Starts. I want to thank you so much for joining me on WNTK and WUVR's election wrap-up program. And I'd like to get you back on. I do the morning show from 6 to 9, and I think you'd be a great addition to the program as we progress here. So I want to get you back on for sure.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right.
Have a good night.
All right, have yourself. Oh, and just out of curiosity, who are you pulling for? Hillary or Trump?
I am behind the winner.
That was a very, very diplomatically put answer. All right, I don't have to defriend you now. All right, Victoria Sites, thanks so much for being a part of the program. Have yourself a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's 7:45 on WNTK.